Buenos dias, fellow gamers. My name is Sid. How you guys doing? Today I got another banger video for you, and this time I'm gonna show you how you can literally become a billionaire. Well, I'm 20 million away, just ignore that. I'm gonna show you how you can do that too. Ayo, hold on a minute right there, before we get started. So, I have a question for you. Have you ever been called a cheater? Well, here's the story. So, I was trading back then, right? And this other guy was like, how? In my head, I was like, how? What do you mean, how? How what? He was like, how do you have so many credits? I was like, Index, my man. By the way, I censored his name, so I don't want to put any hate on someone, just for entertainment, just keep that in mind, okay? I was like, Index, my man. The most horrible grind in my life. Thank you. He was like, yeah, nah, nobody believes that. If you don't tell me how, I'm going to report you. So that was just hilarious. I told my friend about it, my clanmate, he was laughing his ass off. Index Equinox, bro, you have like 2,000 hours only Index. Well, it's not about how much you play, because keep in mind, back then when I did that, there was a thing called credit events, there was a thing called credit boosters, and what we actually didn't have back then was a credit blessing. So that's an additional 25% that you can do. Nowadays, it's just very rare to have like a credit event. Either way, reporting me for grinding credits, I mean, just imagine reporting someone for grinding. That's like, if you're good at Call of Duty or something, and people are reporting you, that's basically like the best compliment you can ever get, right? So choose. What can I say? I found a very good way to speedrun Index with my good Equinox build. It's like you've never seen 1 billion credits before. Plus, there's been an event with double credits and credit blessing. Well, I lied. Back then, there was no credit blessing. I only had like credit event, and oh yeah, it was the booster. It was not the blessing, it was the booster. I was mistyping there, but yeah, if you have like a credit weekend, like a weekend, a blessing, and a booster, then you should be pretty much good to go. For the secondary weapon I was using, there's one thing I have to mention. Those builds are very, very old, and they still work. You can actually update them. There's just one thing that I have to mention here. Well, there was a time when I was trying to buy a god tier ribbon. It was an Exceltra ribbon, if you're curious, because I love that weapon too. There was a time when I needed platinum, so I sold primed heated charge for 150 platinum, if I remember correctly. So ideally, you can go for primed heated charge, which is basically a mod for heat. Let me just find it real quick. Here, heated charge gives you heat, and well, the primed heated charge has that polarity too, so I would highly recommend to put that here. You know, just not the heated charge, but the primed heated charge. For the Exilus, it doesn't really matter. You can go for a projectile speed. I don't think it matters that much, to be honest. For the rest of the setup, we have a Riven. I would always recommend multi-shot and critical damage. It's just very nice. Of course, those two crit mods right there. This one is a little bit odd first, because you're like, oh wait, you're not using galvanized barrel diffusion? What the fuck, bro? The reason I use this mod and prefer this mod is because of the dodge speed. As you can see, I am dodging in light speed. Look at that. Like, you can tell me that's not light speed, isn't it? Okay, let's go back to the weapon. What else I'm using is, of course, Jolt, because you have more status chance for the radiation done. Lethal Torrent, Fire Rate, and Multi-Shot is always nice. You can even have like an Arcane on your Warframe that has Fire Rate. That works too. It's no big deal. And Hornet Strike, because damage is damage, and we do need damage. Pax Charge doesn't really matter. You can replace it with something else. That's just, if I'm playing with the Kitgun, I prefer having unlimited ammo. That's why I'm using it. But if you just want to boost your damage of your Equinox, you can basically go for this. You know, like full projectile burst from the target and seek the heads of nearby enemies. You can do that too. Well, for the other Arcane, I'm using secondary Deadhead. The reason for that is your clone can easily headshot, and the secondary Deadhead just gives you so much more critical damage. Like, it gives you a headshot multiplier. The weapon recoil doesn't really matter, but you get a lot of damage too. So headshot multiplier and damage. That's very nice, actually. You can even go for Merciless. I think both is pretty good here, actually. Yeah. Focus tree doesn't really matter, I guess. You can go for Zenuric, but you don't have to. Alright, for the main part, Equinox Prime. In my opinion, a very underrated frame. The only time I see an Equinox is when there's like a defense mission, and you just see an Equinox nuking. Like all of that. I remember the first time I went into Index when I was doing that with other people, and they were like, Equinox, you do realize that your damage, like your nuking damage, doesn't really do well against those enemies. And I was like, are you sure about that? Because I was using a different setup, as you're gonna see. And they were like, bro, what is your build, dude? Like, when they play Equinox, when they play a nuking Equinox, they don't do this damage, you know? So, but yeah, the trick is, I was not using a nuking build, I was using a very special build. And this special build, I'm going to show you right now.
Nice.
Alright, yo, for the Equinox Prime build. The first thing to mention is that I replaced the third ability with Eclipse. Eclipse helps you deal more damage. That's the easy way to put it. For the Arcanes, I'm using Arcane Barrier. This Arcane is a personal preference, you can literally use whatever you want to. If your shield gets damaged, you have a 6% chance to instantly restore all shields. So that is basically shield gating, what you're doing, you know. If your shield is down, you're basically one shot. So your shields are the only thing that are keeping you alive. For the other Arcane, I'm using Arcane Precision. Basically what it does, on a headshot, you gain 300% more damage on your secondary weapons for 18 seconds, which is quite a lot, you know. That's basically like every time you cast your clone, you deal more damage because you always kill. So it's like a never-ending cycle, you basically always deal 300% plus damage, which is quite nice. Alright, for the mod build, in the aura slot, I'm using Brief Respite. It just helps you with overshields, and it's always quite nice, you know. Like I said, shields keep you alive. Also keep in mind that this build is super old, so you don't have to use Redirection. You can, but you don't have to, you know. You can swap it out for something else that keeps you alive a little bit longer. The main key for survival is rolling guard. If your shields are depleted, you roll. You know, that also combines well with the dodging speed of that Amalgam multi-shot mod, if you remember. You just dodge, you're invincible, boom, you know, and speed keeps you alive, like I said. For the other mods, Energy Nexus, we didn't have this mod back then, so I just equipped it, like, before I made this video. Narrow-minded is just great because you do need ability duration. Redirection, like I said, personal preference, you can replace that. Duration is super important. Adaptation, you can do that, you don't have to. Streamline for efficiency, always great. So if there's mods that I say are must-have, Rolling Guard, Crawly Energy Nexus, Brief Respite, Enemy Sense for enemy detection, Prime Continuity, this one you don't have to, Streamline, and the main mod that you are waiting for, the main mod, the MVP mod of this mod setup or build is Duality. Each time you summon or you press your first ability, you summon a clone that deals 300% damage for 10 seconds. But since we have duration mods, that increases. We have 25.4 seconds on duration, which is a lot. And, well, I used to have Arcane Energize, like I said earlier, but you don't need to have this. There's another trick for that. Since we do have, oh, it gets better, boy, just hear this out. Since we do have Archon shards, I'm gonna show you what I have. Like I said, shield capacity, personal preference. Your shield gets depleted the more shards you carry, so it's kind of like pointless. You can replace this for something else. For example, you can use this. This Topaz Archon shard gives you 10% ability damage on enemies affected by radiation status. The thing is, strength on the Warframe does not increase the damage dealt by your clone, but ability damage on enemies does help. For the yellow shards, I was using effectiveness on energy orbs, because this is basically like an Arcane Energize. You don't have to use this, but I highly recommend it. And I was also using parkour velocity. Like I said, speed keeps you alive, okay? Never forget that. Speed keeps you alive. If you're slow, like Grendel, no offense, bro, you're gonna die. No offense, bro. I love you, Grendel, okay? I love you. Don't be sad, okay? No offense. Alright, let's get started. Index. First of all, for those people who don't know what Index is basically a game mode where you just enter, you face AI bots. I mean, you always face AI bots unless you play the PvP mode, which I never do usually. You basically go in there, you kill enemies, they drop like shards, you collect them, and then you bring them to your goal. And by cashing in, if you reach 100, well, if it's on high risk, it's called? Yeah, if it's on high risk, you have to collect like 100, cash them in, and then you always get like credits in return, which is pretty nice. As you can see, you invest 50,000 and you get 250,000 back. So do that with, for example, let's say a credit booster, and you have like 500k. Do that with credit blessing and you have 25% in addition. And back then, like I said, there was a credit event, so it was another 100% in addition, which made me gain 1 million each round, which is pretty ridiculous. Yeah, so you don't have to go to Steel Path because nope, you don't earn more credits that way. Basically, you just click here. If you don't have many credits, sorry, you can just go here, start low, but I would always do this mode. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so basically what you do is you just cast your ability, and as you can see, your clone is gonna do a ridiculous amount of damage.
This is where the fun begins.
Wonderful indeed. So basically what you have to do, you can see that I have to cash in over there, right? So basically you just stay here because this is the point where the enemies have to cash in. So if you see an enemy coming towards you and is carrying like a huge ass amount of shards, you just kill them, which is very nice. And you basically just place your Spectre here. He's gonna do all the work here. Look, if I go here, I used to have Arcane Aegis, but you don't need that actually. Look, you just place the Spectre here. He's literally killing everything, and that's ridiculous. I missed that. How did I miss that? That's pretty weird. But either way, as you can see, I can just collect a ridiculous amount of shards. You can even tether them at some point. Like if you see you get too much damage, you just tether them and boom, you're safe. It's actually pretty sick. Pretty easy too. So if there's one thing I can highly advise you, it's to play. By the way, here you can see my shield is depleted. So what I do is basically I just roll for rolling guard. You know, that's basically how you protect yourself. It's very simple. So rolling guard is definitely a key for survival here. Okay, if there's one more huge advice I can give you, it's to go solo. Yes, you heard me, go solo, don't go with other teammates, because if you die, which can happen of course, the bots are always right next to you, you know? And if you play online, I mean, unless you're in comms, you can make that happen, you can be like, hey, I died, so please pick up my thingy, you know? But if you're, like, not communicating with the random players you just matched up with, which is basically what happens to me, you know, I just, like, enter a lobby and boom, I just play. I don't communicate with them, but yeah, you can do that, like I said. But if you're a solo player like me, you just go in, you just play solo. So as you can see, the rolling speed is quite nice, you know, it literally saves you, it gives you so much mobility that you can actually evade those enemy shots, which is quite nice, you know, it's very handy. You see, that's why mobility is so nice, because if you fall down, you actually die and you lose all your shots. But the good thing is, those bots, since they're like already next to you, they can pick it up, you know? They're like your lifesaver. Back then, I was carrying like a 90, and I let the bots, like my bots, cash in. And when we reached the next wave, I just cashed in like instantly, and boom, you just completed one wave and got credits for free. It's actually very nice. Brokers. So basically, if there's one important thing that you have to pay attention to, it's that if you summon a clone, it's gonna use the current weapon that you equip. So if you want to summon your clone, it's very important that you have your Kitgun equipped. You know, it's alright to take your primary weapon with you, but just make sure that when you cast your clone, you actually have your secondary weapon or your Kitgun equipped, because then your clone is gonna shoot at that, and it's gonna do much more damage. You know, of course you can bring a primary weapon that has radiation on it. I'm pretty sure there's some good weapons right there, you know. It's just that back then I played with the Kitgun, so I'm just showing you the setup that I was using back then, and that was the fastest for me. You know, if there's a primary weapon that you use and you think does a lot of damage, and you can put it, you can mod it for radiation, then go ahead and do that, you know, it's fine. But yeah, this is the Kitgun I was using, and I was having a lot of success with it, as you can tell. Also, if there's another advice I can give you, if you're in Index, I would always try to stay in your night form, because if you are in your night form, you basically gain more haste, like you're faster, you have more parkour velocity, which is great, because as we know, speed kills, and also speed makes you survive. So that's pretty great overall. Also, there's one more tip I can give you. If you go to your operator, and you go to equipment, you can...
Were you visualizing a bloody battle?
I was visualizing a bloody battle. That's great, Otis, that's great. You can use Magus Lockdown, which basically tethers them up for 10 seconds. So if you see that you're about to die, you basically roll, and if you panic, you just go to your operator, you tether them together, and boom, you're safe. So of course, when I did this back then, I did have a billion credits. The sad thing is, you are capped at 1 billion credits, so there's no real point grinding Index after that. The main reason you do this is to show off in trading chat getting called a cheater, because getting called a cheater is hella hilarious, in my opinion, and it's just a feel-good moment. You know, I'm still waiting for the moment that DE says, hey, if you have a billion credits, you're gonna get a special glyph, or something like that, something cool. You know, maybe something for your ship, I don't know, but imagine. That would be cool. That would be super cool. You know what's funny? The next time somebody calls me a cheater, I'm just gonna say that I bought the high roller, because if you go to the market, you can literally buy credits with platinum. Let me show you. If you type in high roller, you can see that you can buy 175,000 credits for 45 platinum. So if you're rich on platinum, you can do that. I would never recommend that, like never ever, but it's a funny way of trolling. So if somebody tells you you're cheating, just tell them, bro, nah, I bought the high roller. Either way, that's gonna do it for this video. I thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. If you guys like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you.